How do you tell the difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary hyperparathyroidism on a blood test? Hi, this is Christine from Renal Tutorials, and today we're going to be unpacking how you can easily tell the difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary hyperparathyroidism on a blood test. And I'm going to tell you it's all about the phosphate. Let's crack on. So we're going to fill in this table together, but as we do that, I'm also going to draw out what's happening with the pathophysiology of these conditions. So I guess from the get-go, you could say that we're dealing with, in all of these scenarios, hyperparathyroidism, so increased PTH. So it's easy to fill in the table on that right-hand side saying PTH is going to be high in every scenario. I'm going to start with secondary hyperparathyroidism because that is home base for me. That is to do with the kidneys. And both secondary and tertiary hyperparathyroidism, the people are going to have CKD. So we have our little parathyroid gland, which lies just under the thyroid. Kidneys, our GI tract, bones. Okay, so now we're set up. Let's first of all look at secondary hyperparathyroidism. So this happens in chronic kidney disease. So the kidney is upset in some way, and the kidney normally gets rid of phosphates. This is going to happen at pretty advanced levels of chronic kidney disease, not necessarily early. So the kidney's going to have trouble getting rid of phosphate, and what happens is we increase our serum phosphate. And when the serum phosphate goes up, it binds serum calcium, so serum calcium goes down. Now, calcium is a very important little ion in the body. The body's not going to tolerate that for very long, and we actually have this little parathyroid gland, which is all about maintaining calcium. That is its life's purpose, is to maintain calcium homeostasis. That's it. So, low calcium stimulates the parathyroid gland to secrete PTH, and then PTH does a couple of things to normalize your calcium. It first of all goes to the kidney, where it causes the kidney to activate vitamin D, and then activated vitamin D goes off to the gut and increases absorption of calcium. But of course, we wouldn't want to be relying on our next meal for our whole calcium homeostasis rig, so PTH does another couple of things. PTH can actually march right up to bone and demand the calcium from it. Bone is our main calcium store in the body, and PTH can just walk up, take the calcium, and then chuck that calcium into the bloodstream. And of course, calcium normalizing would feed back negatively on the parathyroid gland, as would activated vitamin D. So these negative feedback loops exist. Except you don't have normal kidneys still. So you still have this trouble getting rid of phosphate, and the whole cycle sort of repeats and repeats. And this whole process that I've shown you, this whole pathway, is known as secondary hyperparathyroidism. So we can see here, looking at this diagram, we said before the serum calcium would be low or maybe normal, and the serum phosphate would be increased. And that is very key. The serum phosphate is increased. It's the thing that sparks this all off. The serum phosphate is high. In tertiary hyperparathyroidism, we have advanced CKD, and they've already had secondary hyperparathyroidism for a long time. Eventually, that pathway causes the parathyroid gland to undergo hyperplasia. Maybe they'll develop an adenoma, and they'll secrete PTH irrespective of what's going on with the serum calcium. So, in tertiary hyperparathyroidism, phosphate might be high or it might be normal depending on if we're using, phosphate binders and things by that time. So the phosphate could be either, but the serum calcium is going to be high or high normal, but it shouldn't be low. Basically, the parathyroid gland is ignoring the serum calcium. So the calcium is going to be at that upper level of normal, or it's going to be even higher than that. So the trouble with primary hyperparathyroidism, we're making the assumption that the kidneys are completely normal and this person doesn't have chronic kidney disease. And so the problem there is starting in the parathyroid gland itself. Maybe they have an adenoma, maybe gland hyperplasia, and they're just shooting out some PTH, irrespective of the calcium. So the high PTH is going to cause all of these things to happen. You're going to get that activation of vitamin D, you're going to get more calcium absorption from the gut, you're going to be taking the calcium from the bones and putting it into the bloodstream even when you don't need to. So all of that's going to be happening, and the PTH is still going to be high and the calcium is going to be high as well. So in primary hyperparathyroidism, you've got usually a high calcium, if not a high normal calcium. But the difference here, and the way you can tell you're dealing with primary hyperparathyroidism, is because of the phosphate. So PTH, as well as regulating calcium homeostasis, has an impact on phosphate. So PTH actually promotes renal excretion of phosphate. So, assuming that you have normal kidneys and you have a high PTH, you're gonna have lots of phosphate passing into your urine, and you'll have a low serum phosphate. So that is how you can tell the difference between primary, secondary and tertiary hyperparathyroidism. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope to see you again soon for some more high yield learning. Bye!